God, such a intimate subject for most of us, such a common subject, but yet it has become somehow provocative and controversial to speak of. In this video, I will talk about how God changed my life, and we will explore how this reality is stranger and more mind bending than most of the greatest science fiction movies that we have watched in our lives. We will discover the essence of reality, we will understand more about God, and I will speak a little bit about my journey and how God changed my life and, in fact, saved my life. All of us have different ideas of God, and some ideas are given to us by the religions we follow, by the philosophy we follow. Some are taught by our parents, by the society, and some ideas are arrived at through our own experience and through our own discovery. But yet, God has been the most important quest of human life for centuries and millennia. Humans always have wondered about the nature of reality beyond this physical dimension. And if something exists beyond this dimension that we see and understand, which is sort of a cause and which is sort of the source for all this. And all religions, in one way or another, talks about God. There are some religions that do not speak of God directly, like Buddhism, but even such philosophies and religions talk about the ultimate reality. Now, whatever name we give it, it is irrelevant because that ultimate reality cannot be bound by names and labels and words. So it doesn't matter. But every philosophy, every religion points to that reality, that transcendent, that immanent reality, which is the source and which is the foundation of everything and everyone. Now, throughout my life, I have explored a lot of things, and all of this comes from my curiosity, my innate curiosity to understand this reality, to understand why we are here, what is destiny, and what is the purpose of life, and what is God. These are the questions that I asked a lot when I was very, very young. And when I was young, God didn't make sense to me. It was something that was taught to me by my parents, and I never accepted conformity. Just do this because this is how it is supposed to be. Just worship God because this is how it has always been, and we should all do this. This kind of forced tradition didn't sit well with me. So when I was very young and even up until I was a teenager, God didn't have a place in my life. I simply didn't pay attention to it. Of course, I was curious about the nature of reality when I was young, but I had not found any evidence of God, nor I had looked for it, very hard. And as life passed, as I became 15, 16 years of age, I got busy with life. You know how we get involved with things, and that sort of takes us away from our quest. And that's what happened. But later on, due to some reason, I accepted the idea of God. I don't even know how or when it happened, but I accepted the idea of God without inquiring on it, without going deep into it. I accepted that there is some power, there is some source which protects us, which has given birth to us, and which we should pray and worship to. And like that, I was, sort of worshipping God. And like this, a few years passed. And at one point in time, I went through something really dramatic in my life. I lost someone who was close to me, and because of which everything sort of shifted. And all my assumptions, all my ideas of what I wanted to become in life, everything was shattered. And I began to question everything. Of course, I went through a period of suffering, and after that, those questions sort of, came back to me about what life is, what is the purpose of life, what is God, etc. And then my inquiry got deepened and I began exploring different philosophies. And along this journey, I had also started my journey of personal development from, when I was around 18, 19 years of age. I started reading these books like Ask and It Is Given, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, many books like this, which talked about law of attraction, personal development, manifestation, etc. And I had begun applying certain principles of that in my life and I was seeing certain results. But when this dramatic incident happened in my life, all of those teachings that I had gone through seemed like they are superficial. I somehow understood that there is something missing. And like this, I, began to search for different answers. Like this, slowly I came to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. Initially, when I began to listen to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, something very deep within me resonated with these teachings. Of course, these teachings are very radical for a beginner when we listen to it, but it somehow made sense to me, and I slowly started exploring it. And throughout this video, I'll talk about my understanding of God and how this understanding has shaped my life and how it has given a profound purpose, clarity, and fulfillment in my life. The Advaita Vedanta that I study, that we talk about in this channel and our community, is the classical Advaita Vedanta of Sanatana Dharma, which was taught by Adiguru Shankaracharya, by Gaudapadacharya, and the entire lineage of Guru Parampara. This is very different from the Advaita Vedanta that is being taught today across the world. What we call Neo Advaita and different sub-schools of Advaita Vedanta like Bhamati, etc. I think their teachings are different from classical Advaita Vedanta. And we will explore classical Advaita Vedanta and its idea of God and how it is the highest perspective on reality in this video. So God, as per Advaita Vedanta, is the ultimate reality. It is the only thing that truly exists. So as per Advaita Vedanta, there is no duality, there is no division, there is no other thing apart from God. This God is described as Brahman in the Upanishads. It is also described through different words. It is described as Satchidananda, it is described as the infinite consciousness, and so on. But it is the fundamental reality and it is the only reality. Technically, as per Vedanta, this is the only thing that truly exists. And the world and whatever we are seeing all around us is simply that reality itself, which is appearing as the world from our perspective. There is one reality and it is beyond time-space, which means it has no creation, it has no dissolution, it simply is. It is existence itself. And the world appears within it. Since it is the only thing that exists, the world, this universe, is also its own potential. That God or that infinite reality that exists is the infinite potential. It has infinite potential within it. So it can become anything. So all the probabilities, all the potentialities, and everything that we can think of and we can't even think of is all there as a potential within that infinite reality that we call God. And since there is nothing apart from it, the universe is looked at as an appearance within it, as simply an appearance within it from our perspective, not from the absolute perspective. From our perspective of avidya, from our perspective of ignorance of the true nature of reality, the way we are perceiving God is as this world, as something which is apart from us. This is how Advaita explains this reality. And then the Advaita Vedanta goes on to say, Tattvam Asi. You are that ultimate reality. You are God in your essence. Now, this is a radical thing to say to someone, that you are God. But when we begin to inquire deeply on the nature of reality, this profound verse, this profound sentence begins to make more and more sense. If we dig deep, actually what this verse is saying is that there is nothing apart from God. There is no thing apart from God. Everything is an appearance in this divine consciousness. And since everything is this divine consciousness and everything is an appearance in this divine consciousness, even you are this divine consciousness. And your identity as the ego, as the body-mind complex, is simply an illusion. It is made up. Now, most of us assume that we are this body-mind complex. We think that we are this body. We have assumed it. We have never questioned this. This identity basically comes from evolution because a strong identification with body is required to survive in the wild. But the problem is we have not questioned this and inquired on this deeply. And when we begin to question this, everything that we thought that was real begins to appear unreal. The body that we had assumed as ourself will soon look like simply an instrument through which we are experiencing this world temporarily. Now, let's take this as a thought experiment. Just think about who you are and who you think you are. Most of us identify ourselves with a name and a form. Name is the name that we give to ourselves. I call myself Sujan and I identify with my body unconsciously. But what is the name? Name is just a word, right? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any inherent existence apart from our identification with it. Even the body is like this. It doesn't mean anything apart from the identification that we have with it. When we sleep, we leave this body and we completely experience a different reality called the dream reality apart from the body, while being totally unconscious of the body. So, at many instances, we experience reality without the body. This tells us that we are not the body, we are something beyond. Like this, we need to go deep and we need to explore who we truly are as per the teachings of Vedanta. As per Vedanta, God is what is. God is within, God is without, God is all there is. And everything else is an appearance. Just like a rope appears to be a snake, the consciousness or the infinite reality appears to be this world, appears to be this body, this mind, and appears to be what we experience all around us. In and through all of this, even here and now, we are that ultimate reality. The world is that ultimate reality. There is only that ultimate reality as per Advaita Vedanta. All of this might sound very philosophical, very conceptual, and not very practical, but this has some profound implications. This has changed my life dramatically. Of course, when we begin to study this and when we begin to understand these concepts, it is more conceptual. It is just theoretical. But the more we study it and the more we contemplate on this teaching and on who we are, we soon begin to discover the truth behind these teachings and we begin to get glimpses of what this reality is. And when that happens, just understand the implications of it. If we truly understand that the world is one reality and we are all one in essence, but we are simply experiencing a temporary identification as different beings, then all the competition, all the comparison, and all the jealousy, all these negativity fades away. These are the things that keep us in suffering for most of us. So all of these things fade away when we understand that everything is one in essence and there is one reality. And secondly, when we understand the infinite potential of the self, when we understand that we are the infinite consciousness, then all the scarcity, all the lack and struggle fades away. Because if I am infinite, if I am truly abundant, and if I am everything and all there is, then what do I need and why will I need anything? So this is the highest way to live. This is the best way to live, free from all competition, comparison, free from all suffering, in infinite joy and fulfillment. And this is the goal as per Vedanta. The goal of life should be to live a life of infinite joy, free from suffering forever. And that is what enlightenment is. And this philosophy, this framework of Advaita Vedanta has clarified almost all of my doubts about reality. Whether we think about morality, why should we be moral, or whether we think about destiny or God or who I am, all of these questions are answered through Advaita Vedanta. And as I began to explore all this, I began writing things down, I began noting different things, and I'm an architect and I think visually sometimes, and I began drawing diagrams, and slowly I also documented it. And through all this, I also wrote my first book, Decoding God. So if all of these things are resonating with you, you can check it out. But the essence of Advaita Vedanta is very simple and very direct. There is one reality, which we can call God. That is all there is. That is who you are. That is what everything is. And recognizing this truth and realizing this truth is the goal of life. And through this recognition, we will transcend suffering forever and we will attain absolute joy and fulfillment forever. So, this is what I'm pursuing. This is what I'm studying every single day. And this is what I'm trying to digest and live as much as possible. And I hope that this will help you in your understanding and in your journey. Next, you can check out this important video that we had made on karma and the nature of karma. And I will see you in the next one. Shivoham.